I'm Dr. Amarjit Kaur. I'm Professor of Accounting and Dean at Faculty of Commerce and Management. I'm a certified management accountant and I am very much interested in research area, and my area of research is on microfinancing, on failure predictions. I have authored about 51 research papers, and I have worked in two of the very renowned universities of USA. So I'm very happy to be present this afternoon here in front of you to talk on business communication. The topic for this half an hour is principles of communication. So as we started this new series today itself, this is the second part of this particular series. So in this half we are going to talk about principles of communication. So friends, before I talk about the principles of communication, I would like to spend 2 minutes on discussing the importance of communication. And why do we use communication? So we use communication for 3 important reasons. They are for informing something, for influencing somebody, and for expressing feelings, right? Let's say I want to inform the time of meeting to somebody. I want to inform the time of exams to students. So this is to inform. So that is the first reason that the communication is required. The second is to influence. I want to convince somebody to sign my document. It could be a notary, it could be a gazetted officer. I want to convince the person to sign my document. I want to convince the bank manager to release my payment. I want to convince my HR in my department, in my university, in my office to sanction my request. Any request, it could be for any particular reason. So I want to influence the other person, the other company, the other department, the other nation even, other state, other chief minister, other minister. So we want to inform somebody, then we need communication. We want to influence somebody, we need communication. And lastly, if we want to express our feelings, right? Let's say I really like somebody. I like my friend. I want to tell her that you are very important to me. She's angry. I want to tell her that I can't lose you, right? So that is my feeling for my friend, that she is very important to me, and I want to communicate. I want to, share this feeling with her. So I need communication. So for 3 reasons, the communication is important: to inform, to influence, and to express feelings, right? Now we will talk about, before reaching out to the principle, to the main agenda of today's session, let me discuss about that what are the barriers, what are the factors which affect the perspective. So basically perspective, every perspective, these factors which I am going to discuss, they sometimes become as a barrier in communicating. Either I want to inform, or I want to express my feelings, or I want to simply influence somebody. It could become a barrier if I have certain perspective in my mind. So what are those factors which become barrier here? The factors which affect the perspective are listed in front of you, but the perspective is basically a fixed idea, a fixed way of thinking something, a known something we perceived, we made some fixed idea in our mind is perspective. Okay, so those perspectives actually, these factors which I am going to discuss, they affect the perspective in all. So in receiving the idea, in sharing the idea, or in getting the exact meaning of the idea or the thought we have in hand. Okay, so first of all, the language becomes as a barrier. So let's say I can speak 3 languages, Hindi, English, and Punjabi. I come across somebody who is a French guy, right? So here language becomes barrier right? To the perspective that I can't talk to the person. So my perspective, the fixed idea that I cannot share whatever I have in my mind to the person who is standing in front of me, because I perceive that he will not understand the English language I know, or Hindi language I know, or the Punjabi language I know, right? Then the visual perception. Sometime we have, the moment we see somebody, I want to share some idea with the person standing in front of me, but I start judging the person on his appearance. So that becomes, so I had a look of the person. So let's say the person is wearing a toned trousers. So generally, toned, though there's a fashion nowadays, but generally toned trouser means a person who's standing in front of you is economically weaker, a poor guy. Yeah, this is how we generally perceive. So that visual perception, the moment I saw somebody, if somebody is very fair standing, so we may say कि फिरंग है, अंग्रेज है, foreigner है. These are the words which we use. So visual perception, okay. So that will change. That will bring up. That may become a barrier in my communication, because I am perceiving it this particular way after looking at the person. Okay. Then the past experience. Somebody may not have a very good experience dealing with a particular person, organization, a department, and the second time person has to communicate with the same person or the same department, right? So, or you have a very good experience in the past, so that will be there in your mind. You have a perspective about that person in advance, right? So let's say somebody, you visited a particular shop in the past, last month, and the guy who was a salesperson there really treated you very well. Didn't try to make any hard sale. He treated you very well, and you remembered it. You actually went back to the same shop with that experience in your mind, right? So that past experience, and you were very polite in the, you were very nice, and you started your communication very, in a very comfortable way, because you have a perspective. Had it been other way around, the person had not treated you well in the past, so you will go to the shop. Maybe there's a necessity, you don't have any other choice, there could be compulsion, but believe me or not, that particular past experience, that was a negative experience, will actually change your perspective to the person, and you may not communicate in a very effective manner which you otherwise would have done had the experience been good. It happens, it does affect. Okay. Then we have some prejudices. We have some judgments in our mind. We generally say, Bengalis are very intelligent. This is a prejudice about a particular caste. Punjabis are very, extravagant. So, or Europeans are like this, or Americans are like this, Indians are like this. So there are prejudices in the society about a particular country, a particular caste, particular region. We say people, in particular area are very strong. People in particular area are very weak. Area means the geographical area, I'm saying. So we have prejudices in our mind. So we may, this may become a barrier, as a factor which will affect your perspective to the communication. So your communication is going to be affected adversely or positive based on the prejudice you have in your mind about the person you are going to communicate to, right? Then the feelings of the person at the time the person is going to communicate does affect the quality of the communication. I am very sad, for example, and certainly I may not be able to congratulate somebody very coherently if it was an occasion of congratulation. In somebody in the office got promotion, but I had something very bad going on at home, or I had a very bad something going on at office, and I come back home and I have a good news. My friend, my husband, my daughter, my son, my father, my mom, anybody shared something good, but I could not reciprocate, the congratulations well, simply because I was having sad feelings. I may be angry and I could not communicate well. So our feelings at the time of communication, which are there in the back of our mind, they also do affect the communication, right? A particular feeling does affect the communication. So that's another perspective to look at the factors which affect the communication. So another perspective to another factor is environment. So what kind of environment we are in, that also affects the communication. So another is the personal factors. If as an individual I have never been confident, I am a shy person, there's a likelihood that I may not be able to communicate my idea in a public forum, right? Because I am very shy. I am hesitant speaking at a public platform, right? So that is a personal factor. I lack confidence. I am shy. I do not have very strong language skills. There's a difference between language and communication. We never need language to communicate, believe me or not. So I'm not teaching you any language. I'm not teaching you English. I will keep on repeating this so that you could understand the crux, right? So the personal factor means my individual traits, skills, or my own looks. People are not confident about their looks, about their dress-ups, about their accessories. My friend is wearing a branded shirt. I am wearing a local shirt. This will really bring down my confidence down if I am concerned as a person about that fact. If I am not, then it will not. Right? So the personal factors will also affect the communication. This is another perspective to look at the communication. Right? The culture also affects, communication. If there's a culture not to greet women in a public forum, at a public forum, right? So and if there was a stranger who was not aware about the culture, and that lady comes from a different culture, she will perceive it as a as a humiliation that no one greeted her. But this could simply a culture that society where men are there, only men are greeted. That is a very rare occasion, but there are certain countries. There's a culture, to clap very loudly, right? So, and the other person who is not aware of this particular, fact may perceive it otherwise. There's a culture, there's a culture to make a very loud sound of hooray or something like that on winning a particular, but there could be a particular country or location or area where this is not appreciated and it will be perceived in a different way, right? So these factors does affect the communication, and for times they become barrier. I'm going to now take up the next thing, principles of effective communication. Okay, so the principles of effective communication. So friends, there are 7 important principles in communication. So those 7 important principles are known as 7 C's of communication. So there are 7 C's. So those 7 C's are there in front of you. So I shall be discussing one by one all these principles now. So this is very interesting because all the principles which are in front of you, they start with the letter C, right? So that's why we call them as 7 C's. So the first C in this slide is clear. So to make a very effective communication, first of all, that your communication should have a clear presentation of your thought, your idea, your feelings. When I say presentation, it could be written, it could be through sign or signal, vocal, verbal, whatever, right? But be clear on what do you want to communicate. Do you want to appreciate somebody, or you just want to say it's fine, it is okay, or it is good, it is very good, it is excellent. There should be difference. You want to say it's okay, you want to say it's good, it's very, very good, or it's excellent. So be clear, what do you want to communicate. So the first C in the effective communication, the principles of effective communication is that one who is going to communicate, means the sender of the information, is clear what does he or she wants to communicate. Okay. The second C is concise. So your message should be very, very concise. Message doesn't mean I am talking about the text, right? The message is there on the painting as well. Message is there in the mail as well. Message is there in the video as well. Okay. So I'm saying your message should be very, very concise. Means we should use simple words, simple signs, simple language. We should not make it complex. We should make it very simple and straight. So it should be concise, right, but clear. Then concrete. So we should use exactly what we want to say. If I want to say that the meeting will be held today, afternoon, what does it mean? My message is not concrete. Afternoon could be anything after 12, right? It could be 1 p.m., 1:30 p.m., 1:20 p.m., 2 p.m., 2:30 p.m., even 3 p.m. and so on, right? So to make the communication effective, we have to think that whatever I am sharing, whatever I am informing or I am expressing, it is concrete, right? So first thing, the first C is it is clear, the second C is it is concise, and the third C is it is concrete. Okay. The fourth C is that it is correct. I have seen 1,000 mails. For many a times, people share AM as PM, PM as AM. They do not share the correct information. It's very, very important that whatever is there in your mind or whatever is the agenda of the communication, right? Any feeling, any information, any fact, anything, report, notice, it should be correct. It should be correct factually, it should be correct in terms of grammar, it should be correct in terms of language as well, right? If I'm using English language, do and does make a difference. Did and do makes a difference. Did means past, we all know, right? But I've seen people not been very concerned about it and committing mistake on it. So make sure any fact, any figure, any particular information which is actually a factual information, it is correct. Your message is correct grammatically, your message is correct spelling wise, language wise. So clear, concise, concrete and correct. We have discussed 4 C's so far. Coming to the 5th C, it is coherent. Many a times this is a very important thing. Somebody may know to use a spell check. Somebody may read the message again to show that it is correct grammatically or it is correct from spelling wise. It has all the factual information. It is concise, concrete, it is clear even. But it may have all the 4 C's but it is not coherent. That happens many a times. Coherent means in concurrence with the idea you have in your mind, with the information you want to share. So it is in concurrence with whatever you want to communicate. If I want to share with my sales team, right, that they have performed wonderfully well, they have really done a wonderful job by achieving sales target higher than whatever was it, 10% higher than the budget, right? I want to congratulate all of them. I want to say that the sales manager was very enthusiastic and he could seek the cooperation of the team, the salesperson, because of his good interpersonal skills. But somehow, somewhere I write but, or somehow, somewhere I write something contradictory to this. My message will get distorted. On the one hand, I want to congratulate the sales manager, the sales team for achieving more than the targets, not only achieving the targets but achieving higher than what was the target, right? But somehow I brought out some concerns as well in the same message. So my message would have two meanings. I'm sharing my concerns in the same communication as well as my congratulations, or as well as my happiness, which is not correct, right? My message gets mixed up, right? As a head of the department, I could not communicate very effectively the congratulations message to my sales team. I could not boost up their morale because I mixed up the congratulations message or the appreciation letter along with apprehensions. So appreciation plus the apprehensions mixed up. So it is not coherent. So someone will say कि head ने तो सिर्फ concern show कर दिया, अपनी बेइज्जती कर दिया है, concern कर दिया है, खुश नहीं है. These are the words you are going to hear, and someone will only concentrate on the appreciation language. But important is what was in the mind of the head. Does he want to give a mixed message, or does he want to share the appreciation or the congratulation, the appreciation? So unless your message is coherent with whatever you wanted to communicate, your purpose is defeated. So this fifth C is really very important, which is actually ignored for most of the time. People actually will read the message or will think the message if they are using only the public domain, speech, they are not writing, but they may not have the coherent. If I am communicating verbally, vocally, I am not communicating by writing, so my behavior is not coherent. I am saying something, my speech is saying something, but my eyes, my facial expressions are not coherent, right? So I would say it's very important to pay attention to this fifth C of coherent. Now the sixth C is complete. Make sure you do not miss any factual or any information which you think could be even the least important. So nothing important or least important, nothing is missed at all. We share everything, either it is a vocal communication or a written communication or a verbal, non-verbal or any sign communication. Make sure your communication has all of it, whatever was there in your mind, because we are communicating something we have here, either some thought, some idea, some feeling. So make sure your communication is complete in all means and ways. And last C, another very important, because I really pay attention to coherent and courteous. The last C is courteous. You have to be courteous in your message, in your communication. We should be using this thank you word, sorry word, appreciation, all those good positive words very often. So we have to be courteous in our message, in our communication, whatever we may communicate. So to make the communication effective, this courteousness is also very, very important. So friends, these were 7 C's of effective communication. I hope you could gather it. Let me quickly check what did you get out of the discussion today. So there's one multiple choice question in front of you, just to rehearse, just to have a repeat. It says, what is the purpose of communication? To inform, A option, tell someone about something; to influence, get someone to do something; to share something, some thought, some idea, some feeling, or all of the above. So I hope if you were listening to me very carefully, the answer is D, that the purpose of communication is to inform, influence and share. We have one more MCQ quickly to recall and to rethink whatever we discussed today. How many C's do we have? So this did we discuss today in the principles of effective communication? So how many C's did we discuss? Anyone remembers? Yes, there are 7 C's we have discussed today. So friend, this is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I hope to see you in my future lectures in this new series of business communication. Thank you very much, audience.